Hello everyone, welcome to my webinar. So today I'll be talking about the scoop on Muslim students living in the UK. So basically what you can expect when studying in the UK. So before I begin, I would like to introduce myself. So my name is Tunku Asila Fatina. I'm 20 years old and I'm currently studying Media and Communications at University Academy 92. And when I'm in the UK, I am living in Manchester. So everything that I'm about to share with you guys will be solely based on my experience, as well as a few stories that's been shared by my friends and seniors, as well as some of the other Beamers. So before we begin, I would just like to say that my presentation will basically be tackling these common concerns that Muslim students will have when it comes to studying in the UK. First is, I think, a very, very common concern, which is where can I get halal food? I know personally when I was about to move to the UK, this was one of my worries, like, can I get halal food? Where can I get halal food? So in this particular topic, I will be tackling on the pretty much where you can get it, like the location, as well as to show you on how to know if it's halal, usually for grocery shopping. Next, I will also talk about prayer sessions. So this is another common thing that people usually find difficulty, which is where can I do my prayers? So for this one, I'll be talking more on the location and pretty much planning your time around your class schedule to go so that you still have time to go and pray. I would also talk about Ramadan and Eid and what you can expect when you celebrate Eid in the UK, or what to expect when you're celebrating Ramadan. I will also talk about how the community is there. So I'll tackle on Muslim and Malaysian community as well as a local community. And lastly is another common question that I know some of me and my friends had was, will I get culture shocked? So I'll be talking about the difference in culture when it comes to UK and Malaysia, as well as like what you can do there that are considered, I would say, as Muslim friendly. So moving on to my first topic, which is where can I get halal food? So actually, most supermarkets in the UK provide halal food, such as M&S, Asda, and Tesco's, and some even in Sainsbury's. But bear in mind that these are usually in bigger supermarkets. So if you go to a bigger Asda or a bigger Tesco, you would chances are you would find halal meat. Like I know in Manchester, we have an M&S food hall in Trafford Centre, and they serve halal food there. There's an Asda in Manchester which serves halal food. So even if your place doesn't have like a specific halal meat store, you can still go and find it at most supermarkets. Next is Asian or Muslim-owned supermarkets. So you have to bear in mind that in Asian supermarkets, not all food are halal, so you still have to look for halal labels, but it's an easy place to find snacks, like maybe you're looking for Milo or pretty much any snack that you can't really find in like Tesco's or Asda, so you can go and find it there. But bear in mind that price does vary, so there are some Asian supermarkets that are kind of affordable, some are more on the expensive side. So I would say do research on the closest Asian supermarket around the area and then go according to your whichever you're comfortable with. And even some cities I know have Malaysian supermarkets like Birmingham and Nottingham, and these Malaysian supermarkets normally do online delivery as well, so they could send those products to you wherever you live in the UK. However, it does take a while for them to arrive. Now, for Muslim-owned supermarkets, I would say it's a one-stop place for halal food, so you don't have to worry about checking if it's halal or not. And the best part is they have a meat butchery inside the store, especially if you go to the bigger ones. So you don't have to go and buy your groceries and then go to a separate place to get your meat. It's pretty much everything's like there and it's very easy to find. But I do have to let you know that some of the basic groceries like bread, pasta, vegetables are considered as kind of expensive compared to like Tesco's and Sainsbury's. So what I normally do is I would go to get my meat at the halal supermarket because I know for sure it's halal, and then I would go and get more like bread, pasta, and vegetables in a more in Tesco's or Sainsbury's because it is cheaper. Next place that we can go that you can go to get halal food is halal restaurants. So there are actually a lot of halal restaurants in the UK, which people always feel like you can't get halal food in the UK, but actually there's quite a number of halal restaurants in the UK. But I do have to remind you that some restaurants that serve halal food also serve alcoholic drinks. So it's just something that I feel like you should know, just so that when you go, you don't feel like, oh, they're halal, but they serve alcoholic drinks. But it's pretty common that even a halal restaurant serve alcoholic drinks. And also, I would like to say that halal restaurants doesn't just mean Middle Eastern cuisines. Some cities also have Malaysian restaurants. So if you ever feel like, oh, I feel like having Malaysian food, you can just search and there will be a Malaysian restaurant. Here are some examples of halal restaurants for you, just in case you want a more idea of what they serve. So first we have Archie's, which is actually more of like an American diner kind of style. And it's actually, everything's halal, all the meat is halal. But they're only in 3 different cities, which are Manchester, Birmingham, and Liverpool. And then there's also the Halal Guys, which is a very famous halal place in New York, and they actually have a branch in London. And we also have Nando's, which actually there are some branches in the UK that are halal. So again, you have to go on their website and figure that one out. But I do know in Manchester we have 2 branches that are halal, and there's also, you can also go and have Subway, because some of the Subway branches also serve halal meat. So they substitute like the pork meat with like turkey meat. So again, you have to do more research on that to find out which branches. So moving on, I would like to talk about what you should do. So basically, this applies to when you're doing grocery shopping, or even when you're like mostly calling for a restaurant, asking more in detail if they serve halal food. So first thing I would say is look for the label. So stores will usually have halal labels on their products, and most of it is separated from other food products or in a separate aisle. So you don't really have to worry about finding it, because it's pretty, like the label is quite big, like the label on the aisle, so you would know it's specifically halal. However, this is usually for like meat products. If you're looking for like other things, they don't really indicate that it's halal. But if you're looking for meat specifically, like chicken or meat, you will definitely have to find the halal food label. Next is for the check the ingredients. So this is more specific towards like if you're looking for seafood or like other things like tuna in a can or something. So if you aren't able to look for the halal label, you have to check the ingredients, and you can obviously get a more detailed list if you go to Halal Research Council's website, where they have a food guide on like halal food. So they have the what you can have, what you can't have in more detailed, and obviously you get more explanation from that. I would also say to go for more vegetarian or vegan options, because it's usually the best option for you, or even seafood options. But if you are planning to buy like a pre-cooked meal, which is like the meal you buy and then you microwave it or something like that, or like fry it after once you get back, do check the ingredients, because some actually use like alcohol in their cooking, or like lard or gelatin. So just check the ingredients before purchasing it. Call and ask. So this is specifically, I think, more towards restaurants. So if you're ever wondering if the restaurants serve halal options or serve halal food, you can actually just call them and ask. I know people will always think like, oh, if I call this restaurant, would they know what halal is? Do I have to explain what halal is? And like, what if I explain it wrong? You don't have to worry about that, because most of the restaurants that I do end up calling to ask if they serve halal food, most of them actually know what halal is. And even if the person I'm talking to doesn't know, they will ask someone, the other staff, to know the answer, and you pretty much get an answer directly, so you don't really have to worry about that. And the last thing I would say is to search online. Pretty much search on the internet for halal restaurants or brands that produce halal food products. Read Muslim blog reviews, and apps such as Uber Eats, Deliveroo, they actually have halal options, and they specifically indicate what is halal and what is not. So that's, I think, very, very helpful, especially when you're just like really lazy to go out and you want to just order something for them to just deliver it. So I think Uber Eats and Deliveroo, having that feature is really, really helpful. And there's also apps like Muslim Pro, which actually has this feature where they show you halal restaurants that are in your location, that are near you. So again, that's also very, very useful, especially if you're not sure exactly what kind of restaurant or what kind of cuisine you want to go for. So you can just go through the feature and then there'll be lots of suggestions for you. So basically, like I said, for more information on what ingredients to look out for, you can go and visit Halal Research Council and go on their guide to halal food, and they'll have this PDF file of like things that things that you have to avoid and things that you can consider and buy. So in brief, I do want to like go through like some categories of food that you can get and you can't get. Pretty much this is just like me touching the surface. This is actually something that was taught to me by my grandfather before I moved to the UK, and even when I was in the UK, I kept calling him about this because he is actually quite knowledgeable in this area. And it actually made my life there easier because I was like, okay, at least I know what to look out for and pretty much the basic of it. So I feel like I should share this with you guys just that you don't have that worry as well. So first is animals. So pretty much like avoid the basics like pork. Like it's obvious that we can't have pork, so don't go and get pork. And if like I said, all meat products will have the halal label. And even if you go and buy a halal supermarket, they will still have the halal label. So if it doesn't have the halal label, just avoid it. Don't think about it. Just go like, okay, there's no halal label, I'll just avoid it. Next is vegetables. So all vegetables are halal. So if you were to buy, for instance, you want to buy lettuce that's like not cooked, it's halal. But it only becomes non-halal when, for instance, you're buying a pre-cooked, or you're buying like a salad, for instance. Go through the dressing that they provide, because some of the dressing actually has like they use with like wine or some sort of alcoholic beverage or anything, like maybe sometimes they might use lard or something. So just go through that kind of like ingredient list just to make sure that it's safe for you to eat. Similar to vegetables, like animal produce, like cheese and milk, it's pretty much halal, but you do have to check. This, I think, is specifically towards cheese, because some cheese, they actually put preservatives to make the cheese last longer. So go through the ingredients and make sure there's nothing like gelatin or anything pretty much that can make the food non-halal. And last thing I would say is seafood. So again, seafood is the easiest option that you can go for. Get squid, fish, or like prawn. And again, it's halal, but only if it's not mixed with non-halal. So like if you're, for instance, buying fish fingers like in a box where you want to go and fry when you go home, you have to check the ingredients as well, like what do they use to bread it and stuff like that. It may seem tedious, but it's actually, once you get used to it, it's actually not that bad, and it's also safer for you as well, because once you start to worry like, oh, what if, then you technically can't eat it anymore. So instead of getting that worry, you might as well just like, once you're looking at it, just go through the ingredients and like, okay, it's good, just get it, that kind of thing. Same goes to bread, rice, pasta, cake. It's all halal unless in the ingredients specifically says that it's mixed with non-halal ingredients. And when ordering food at the restaurant, just ask or tell them to not include any alcohol when cooking. And if they say like, oh, we actually, we can't do that, then ask them for a more like halal option. Some restaurants actually do have a halal option, and some will just say like, okay, maybe you could try this when we don't cook it with alcohol and stuff like that. Normally it will be like a vegetarian meal or a seafood meal. Now, here are some halal brands that you can look out for. First off, we have Hamza, Tahira, and Najma. So these three halal brands are the common three halal brands that I would usually find in the supermarkets in Manchester. And I know these common brands are actually part of Tesco. Tesco actually brings out these three brands. But I have seen Najma in Marks and Spencer's and in Asda as well. But again, you have to check in your own, like wherever you're planning to stay, because I can only say for Manchester because that's where I've been. So now moving on to my next topic, the next concern that people have is where can I go and do my prayers? So actually in the UK, most cities in the UK actually have mosques for Friday prayers and daily prayers. Like I know in Manchester, we have about 3 local mosques, if I'm not mistaken. And there's one local mosque that's really near my apartment, which is only like 7-minute walk. So you don't really have to worry about that. And then there's also prayer rooms in universities and prayer rooms at the mall. But you have to remember that mostly these prayer rooms are multi-faith prayer rooms. That means it's not specifically towards Muslim. It's more like a shared prayer room, but you can still go and pray there. So how do you find these places? So one thing that I would say is to ask around, as the staff, as the seniors, like for prayer rooms, for instance, at the mall, you do have to go and ask the staff because most of the time they would lock it for safety reasons. So you would still need them to unlock the prayer room so you can perform your prayers. And some even universities also do that for the safety reasons. So just go and ask around, as staff, as seniors, and you will definitely get your answer. Another thing that I would say is going back to Muslim Pro, they also have another feature where they show you locations of local mosques around your area, as well as how many kilometers is it, like how far is it from where you currently are. So I think that's also another helpful thing. I know for a fact that when I'm in the UK, Muslim Pro has been really, really helpful for me with all these features. So it's just something that I want to share with you guys as well, just in case you guys are looking for something like this. So usually you will get an hour break for lunch. So if you feel like you can go and pray at your accommodation, then go ahead. But you can obviously go and find your prayer rooms at the university because an hour break is normally quite a long time. So you can still manage to go and perform your prayers. But if you somehow have like classes, like very short gaps in between classes. So I would suggest you to pretty much plan your time to pray around your class schedule. So like I said, if you have a smaller gap in between classes, you can just find a more secluded area from like where not a lot of students would go, and you can just go and pretty much pray there. I've heard some stories from some of my friends and some of my seniors who did that, and they actually said that no one is like there to like disrespect you or anything. They really just mind their own business. So you can just do that if you find it that's an easier way so that you can still make it into class on time. So, but luckily for me, my classes usually end by 1 p.m. So I'm still able to go home and pray. So next is, what can I expect during Ramadan? So the first thing I think you can expect the most is fasting. It can last up to 19 hours. Basically, I think this is a sort of like a common knowledge that people will be like are aware of. When going to the UK, you will definitely have to fast longer than if you were in Malaysia, mainly because Ramadan usually happens during the end of spring towards summer, so the days are longer than the nights. So you might have to end up fasting up to 19 hours. And Tarawih prayers can actually be done at the mosque or at home. So it's similar to Malaysia. You can do it at home, you can do it at the mosque, whichever you feel comfortable. And usually local mosques often provide iftars. Sometimes the Malaysian or like Muslim community in your location would provide iftars, but it's sort of like an occasional kind of thing. But I know for a fact local mosque often provides iftars. So what about Eid? So again, Eid prayers can also be done at home and at the mosque. And if you engage with the Malaysian community in the UK, they normally have an Eid celebration, so you can still go and celebrate Eid and be surrounded by your fellow Malaysians and still feel like at home, even though you're technically not at home. And however, because UK is not a Muslim country, you will still have to go to classes during Eid because it is not a public holiday. But fortunately for me, my classes end in April, so I'm still able to go home for Ramadan and Eid. So this is another common worry that people have. So do they have a Muslim community? Most major cities in the UK actually have a big Muslim community, like Manchester, London, Birmingham, Liverpool. They actually have quite a big number of Muslims in their area. So you don't really have to worry about that. However, I do have some tips for you if you would ever want to engage yourself with the Muslim community. First off is I think the easiest way is to create conversation. So if you were to go to the butchery or go to the halal supermarket, just create conversation with the staff there. Chances are you will go to the supermarket once a week because you have to go get your groceries. So just create conversation, ask them how they are, and without you knowing, you will start creating conversations with them and a bond, and they could actually be a helping hand for you in the future. I remember, based on my personal experience, I remember when I first arrived in the UK, um, I had a taxi driver, which was Uncle Nasir. So he actually drove my family, my parents and I, around Manchester and showed us around. And even after that, after my parents left, after I pretty much trying to settle into Manchester, I still kept in contact with him. And I'm so grateful that I did, because when you move abroad and you're not around people that you used to, it's kind of difficult for you to settle in, I would say, especially because my university is a relatively new university. So I'm the only Malaysian currently in UA92, so it's a bit difficult for me to communicate with people at that time and just try to settle in. But to know that I had Uncle Nasir and Auntie Sumira and their family to pretty much be like my foster family there in Manchester, it actually helped me settle in quicker. And like, if I have any doubts, I could just ask them and they could pretty much guide me. And I feel like by engaging yourself with the Muslim community there, especially with people who have lived there longer, they are more knowledgeable in like certain areas. Like, yes, you can be talk to your friends about it, but you have to remember that your friends are technically on the same boat as you, so there are still some things that they don't know. But if you were to engage yourself with the Muslim community, you would be able to get more answers from people who are, I would say, more experienced because they've lived there longer. Another thing that I would say is contact seniors. So universities often will have a page where prospective students can chat with current students. And I would say use this platform to ask your seniors about literally anything. You can ask them about the community there, how to sign up for the Malaysian Society if you want, the overall vibe, and pretty much get any question that you want to know, like, are there halal restaurants? Is there a halal butchery that I can go to there? And it will also help you prepare yourself before traveling. And I feel like that's a very, very important thing, so that you know what you're getting yourself into rather than just jumping head first and then arriving and you're like, what do I do? So I feel like by contacting seniors or pretty much contacting whoever you know who lives there is actually a very, very good tip. So now we'll be going on about the local community. So most local communities are actually very understanding and welcoming. Most of the locals that I have met are actually very respectful of me and my religion, and they don't really, to the fact that they don't really even care, like, you're a minority there. So it's actually a good thing. So all this people saying that, oh, when you reach there, people are going to give you like dirty looks and stuff. Fortunately for me, I haven't gotten any of that. So I would say, thankfully, I live in an area which people are very understanding and welcoming. So I would say don't limit yourself and be friends with everyone. Going back to people giving me a dirty look. So this is a very difficult topic to talk about. It is a very serious topic, but I do feel like it's best for me to address it because it is something that could happen. Like, I really hope it doesn't happen to any of you guys, but if it does, at least you know how to pretty much protect yourself. So in some locations, you might be facing situations that make you uncomfortable or unsafe. And normally these locations are with an older people, like in the community, it's more of like an older people, like there are more older people there or in more rougher or rural areas. So again, hopefully you'll never have to experience it, but here are some like tips that I could give if you were to ever find yourself in that situation. So first, I would say is just give them a smile and wish them a good day. Don't spend too much time on it. Don't dwell on it. Just if someone were to say something to you, just give them a smile, wish them a good day, and leave. Don't just try and stay longer. Which comes up to my next point, which is leave the area. Don't provoke them. Don't pick a fight. You don't have to try and prove anything at this point. You don't have to be like, oh, but actually, because at the end of the day, your safety is your utmost priority, because you don't know what they could do to you. You might just want to like be like, oh, actually, you want to show the good side, but at that particular time and situation, probably it's best for you to just protect yourself and leave the area. And if things get out of hand, I would say call the authorities or anyone you trust and just report it to someone. Usually, when you start calling someone, they will start to like freak out and like leave you alone. So that's another tip I would give. And sometimes these scenarios could also happen on campus. So if your campus has some sort of like code of conduct where they don't accept this kind of behavior, I would suggest you to report it, because you don't want anything bad to happen in the future to you or to anyone else. Another thing I would say is also to not walk alone and go in groups. So if you feel like the place that you're living is, you feel like it's unsafe, I would suggest you to go and walk in groups or pretty much ask someone to accompany you. And again, if you don't feel like it's necessary for you to walk at night or go home at night, just don't go out at night for your own safety. However, don't feel like this is will always happen. But I just wanted to address it just so that people know, like, if it were to happen, at least you know, like, pretty much how to handle it and how to not make the situation even worse. So now moving to pretty much my last topic, which is the culture. So actually the culture in the UK and in Malaysia are not actually that different. UK also has a number of different races and religions, and how we celebrate Eid or cultural celebrations in like a larger scale, that's pretty much how they celebrate Christmas. So like in some cities like London and Manchester, they actually have a bunch of festivities prepared for Christmas. And in Manchester, they have their own Christmas markets and even this turning on the lights ceremony where they turn on Christmas lights and have a big event about it with a lot of artists coming to perform. And I actually experienced it last year. I went with my friends to the Christmas markets and to the turning on the light ceremony, and it was one of the best nights I've had, no doubt, because it's not something that you can experience here in Malaysia. You don't really have Christmas markets in Malaysia, and you don't really have this big event where they just turn on Christmas lights in like the streets just and having a performance and stuff like that. So I would definitely suggest you to go and experience these things, even if you don't live in Manchester. Like if you end up living in some other places, I'm sure they have some Christmas festivities planned because it is a big deal there. So I would say just go and experience it all. But I do have to remind you that when you do go to like Christmas markets or stuff or places like that, they don't really have a lot of halal food or drink options. So you could just go just to experience it all and just pretty much maybe get some knickknacks or something, because they often sell like small little knickknacks that you can buy. So yeah, just go and experience it. It's something that I definitely feel like everyone who studies abroad should experience, because you can't experience it back home. Next thing is the possibilities are endless. So people always assume that when living in the UK, the only things that you can do are like pubs and clubs. But actually, there are so many more things that you can do in the UK. You can go to museums, you can go to art galleries, you can go cafe hopping, you can go bowling, you can even go and watch a football game. There's pretty much a football stadium in every city in the UK. So even if you're into football, you can just go and watch a game. Obviously not in the current situation, but like afterwards, you can totally go and see that. And like in Manchester, it's pretty much known as like a music hotspot, I would say, because there are music gigs every weekend. So if you're into music, you can go to music gigs. It doesn't have to actually be like a big performance from an artist, but I was grateful that I got to see one of my favorite artists last year perform in Manchester. So if you're into music, you can go and check out the music gigs around Manchester, and I'm sure there are other things that you can do in wherever you're planning to go as well. So don't feel like just because you're a Muslim, you won't be able to enjoy your life abroad. Next thing I would say about is be friends with everyone, because you don't, I wouldn't want, I feel like when you're abroad, you should expand your friend circle and not just be friends with people from your culture. It's good, obviously, but I feel like when you expand your circle and be friends with other people from different cultures, you'll be able to learn about their cultures and they can learn about yours. And last thing is that UK is more than just fish and chips. So don't be afraid to experience everything and don't feel like you're limited to any choices or opportunities. We've reached to the pretty much the end of my presentation, but I do have some key points that I would like to point out just so that you guys can remember as well. First off, don't be shy. Just if you're unsure of anything, just ask a staff, ask a senior, ask a friend. It's okay, just ask. You don't have to be shy about it. And Google is your best friend. Definitely, this is definitely one of the things I would always say to people, because when you're in doubt, you can just search for halal restaurants, search for like things to do in the UK. There's this, I know I saw this like Muslim guide on things to do in Manchester. So there's so much things that you can search on the internet and you will get answers. So you don't really have to worry about that. And last thing, here are some websites for your reference. This is the Muslim, first off, I have the Muslim Council of Britain, which is actually a website about the Muslim community in Britain as a whole, as well as the Halal Research Council that I was mentioning earlier. So if you want to know more about halal food or like halal certificates and stuff like that, you can just go on their website and they have a lot of information on that. And this is the Muslim Pro app icon, just in case you guys feel like downloading it before going. So you guys can just look at that for that icon and just download it. So yeah, I'd just like to say that I have only been in the UK for about a year, so there are still some things that I'm yet to experience. But hopefully, by sharing my first year experience with you guys, you are able to get a gist of what it's like to study in the UK as a Muslim student. And yeah, so thank you so much, guys, for listening to my webinar. I hope you find it beneficial in any way, and I'll pass it back to Jason.
Yes, thank you very much, Asila. It was a very informative session, I think, and we do have quite a few people asking some questions here. But before we go into that, I would like to reiterate that we actually have a prize draw session that's going to be coming up after the Q&A session. So please do hang on as we will tell you the details of how you can take part in this prize draw. And also before you leave us today, if it would be possible, please do fill out the feedback form that that I put into the chat. If you have enjoyed what Asila has shared today, please let her know how much you enjoyed it and also what you thought about what she said. And yeah, please do let her know how she has done and what she can improve on. So yes, right now let's just go into the Q&A session then. So the first question that we have here is from Ahmad. How do you enjoy local food like fish and chips that may be prepared with non-halal ingredients? Do you have any thoughts on that, Asila?
Yeah, so actually before ordering like fish and chips, I would normally ask them. They actually do have restaurants that serve fish and chips that don't really use beer batter. So I would normally go for those kind of ones that I obviously know that they don't have beer batter. Because I know that, so I actually do quite enjoy fish and chips. It's obviously I prefer rice because I don't know, but like, yeah, there's still possibilities that you can go and enjoy their local dishes like fish and chips. Just you have to pretty much do your research and find restaurants that serve like fish and chips that aren't made out of beer batter.
Great answer to that. Okay, next question by Marissa. Hi Asila, are the fast food in UK halal, such as McDonald's, KFC, Domino's, etc., etc.? Have you encountered any that are non-halal before, or what is halal?
So actually, there are actually some KFC branches that are halal. Like I know in Manchester, I think there's 2 branches that are halal. One in Arndale's food court, and the other one actually around Deansgate area. And actually, KFC, I know they have halal branches. So again, you have to go and search on their website for more information on that. However, McDonald's are not halal, unfortunately. So normally, if I were to get McDonald's, I would just go for like fish and no, not fish and chips. Sorry, filet of fish or like a more vegetarian burger because it is the safer option. And similar to Domino's, they don't serve halal meat. So I would just go for like tuna or a more vegetarian option.
Great, thank you for that. Another question by Miss Anna Rafali. This is actually a very deep question, I think. How has the UK changed your worldview as a student?
Oh, wow. Thank you for that question. That actually requires me to think a bit. But actually, I feel like the UK actually did change my perspective on the world, I guess, because you're asking me about my worldview as a student. I did do my foundation here in Malaysia, so I've been used to the Malaysian education system for a long time. I haven't moved out of Malaysia ever since I was born up to like until I was like 19 when I started to move out to Manchester. And when I actually arrived in the UK and like studied in the UK, I feel like the education system is actually quite different, but in a good way. We're given, I don't know, personally, maybe it's my university, but we're given more exposure with more industry related exposures. And I just feel like because we are surrounded with so many cultures and with so many people from different countries, it actually makes me see more like possibilities that could happen and like more friendships that I could make with people from different cultures, and it makes me more open to be friends with other people as well.
Great. Sounds like you had a very rich experience in the UK. So here's another question that might be interesting. But you've only been in the UK, so for about 1 year, I think. So you might not be able to provide both sides. So the story. So Ani asks, which is better, living on or off campus?
So actually, I am currently technically living off campus because my university doesn't actually provide an on-campus accommodation, but the accommodation that I'm staying with is actually partnered with my university. So I don't know if it's considered as off or on campus. So I can't really give you an actual like difference between on and off, but I would personally feel like because my accommodation is only like 5 minutes, no, 8 minutes away from my campus, walking distance. So it's pretty much nothing different from if you were living on campus. I guess if you live on campus, there's more like you don't have to worry about arriving late to class and like stuff like that. But unfortunately, I can't really give you an exact answer on that because, like Jason said, I've only been there a year, and where I stay is pretty much also in between on and off campus. So yeah.
Thanks for that. Personally, as me myself, having been a recent graduate from the UK as well, I would say that living on campus has its advantages as well, such as Asila said earlier, being able to arrive to classes quite easily, as well as if your accommodation is near your department. And also you'll be able to make a lot of friends on campus and international because you're all students living in more or less the same area. So you can always have time to socialize in the local student union or whatever restaurant is close by. So I'd say there are both advantages and disadvantages of living on or off campus. So it would be good for you to explore a little bit. We also have a webinar coming up that's talking about making the most of your life in the UK. So maybe you might be able to gain more information on that for one of our future webinars. Okay, so here is the next question. It's also a little bit touchy. Something about how on your presentation you were talking about how it is what to do when people are being offensive. So one of our webinar attendees here asked, have you ever experienced Islamophobia during your stays in the UK?
So actually, I've actually never actually like experienced it like really badly, but I did experience it once while I was actually on campus. It was actually by an older student, a more matured student, I would say. And it wasn't really like, he was like saying that, oh, like in his words, like it was more of like the fact he was questioning like why I choose to pretty much be part of like the Islam community and Muslim community. And at that time, I didn't take it too seriously because I felt like in my head, I was like, there's no point of arguing with him at this point, and I just wanted to pretty much focus on my work because it was during campus. But I did, because my campus does have a code of conduct where they don't accept this kind of behaviors. So I actually went and talked to one of the university staff there, which was one actually our well-being counselor there, and she advised me to try and like separate myself from him just for my safety, and he actually got called off for that. And so I feel like if you were ever in that kind of situation, even if you're like on campus, to just report it, because the people there can actually help you, make you feel safer. So that's one thing that I did. And if you ever feel like you are in that situation or on campus or off, just I think reporting it is actually quite a good thing for you to do.
Thank you for that. It's good. I think it's good to reiterate that a lot of the universities are intolerant of this sort of behavior. So if you ever are worried about your own personal safety in the UK because of hate speech or for whatever reason, do get in touch with the authorities, whether it's on at the university or at the local police station. So another question that we have from Salma. Do you have any tips on budgeting and saving money, especially for transportation around London? Do you have any tips on that, Asila?
I'm not sure about London specifically because I do live in Manchester, but I do know that London has like Oyster card, so you can actually use that for like travels on like trains and stuff. But again, I'm not really sure about London specifically. But if it comes to like Manchester, I can say you can get like a tram pass for like a monthly tram pass, because we have trams around the city. So sometimes we just use the tram to go into city center, and it actually costs way cheaper. And I think transportation wise, like in Manchester, everything's like not really walking distance, but you could walk. So you don't really have to spend that much on transportation. And even if you do, I think tram is the cheapest and quickest way to get around. But for London specifically, I'm not really sure. I'm so sorry about that. But all I know is about the Oyster card. But yeah, that's about it. I'm so sorry. I can't really answer that one.
Oh, that's okay, Asila. I think we'll also be talking about this topic in a future webinar as well. So do stay tuned to our social media for more updates on what you can expect from studying either in any city in the UK or in London, and so on and so forth. We have this very interesting question here. Hi Asila, I've heard a lot about Malaysian societies in the UK. Did you join one?
Hello. I personally didn't join a Malaysian society because when I first went there, my first initial thought was, oh, I don't really want to be friends with Malaysians. Not, it sounds bad, but actually I wanted to explore and pretty much venture out of my usual friend group. So I didn't actually join Malaysian societies, but I do know some of my friends who actually do join Malaysian societies, and based on what they've told me, I actually think that Malaysian societies are quite beneficial, especially in like this current COVID situation. Like they've been getting messages about how to prepare yourself to go back, like all this important information that you usually won't get. And I feel like when you're homesick, Malaysian society, people always say that their Malaysian society is pretty much their home away from home. So if you feel like it's beneficial for you, totally go and join Malaysian society. I personally didn't, but I kind of feel like I might in my second year because of all the good things I've heard. But again, it's solely up to you based on what you want to experience when living in the UK.
Thank you, Asila. Yes, Malaysian societies are actually quite common in a lot of the major universities in the UK. So you would definitely have a lot of the major celebrations that Malaysian students will celebrate, such as Chinese New Year, Eid, and also Deepavali as well. So yes, so if you are interested in learning more about Malaysian societies as well, we do search it up because there's a lot of them in social media as well. And if you're interested in joining a specific one in a specific university, yes, you can definitely look for more information on either on Facebook or sometimes on Instagram as well. Here's another question from Juan Izatul. I think you've pretty much answered this question earlier about public transportation in Manchester. So yeah, so if you would like to reiteration of this answer, you can rewatch our recorded webinar after this. to get an answer. But I think if you would just kind of like to summarize again what you said earlier, just in very short sentence, Asila.
Yeah, so Manchester's public transportation, I think, is amazing. We have trams literally connecting everywhere around Manchester, so you don't really have to worry about that. And they do offer monthly passes that you can buy, so you don't have to spend it on daily passes.
Thank you very much. We have another question from Asif. I'm worried about my expenses. Would £1,400 £400 be enough for a month if we're not staying on campus? How much would rent cost? Do you have any thoughts on that specifically?
I don't actually know exactly where you'll be studying, so I can't really say. But I think for me personally, if it comes to because I paid my rent ahead of time. I paid a year direct so that I don't have to worry about it. But obviously, it's according to your own preference and how you feel comfortable. So I don't actually know if £1,400 would be enough because I don't know where you're planning to stay. But I feel like if you were to live in Manchester, I spend roughly about £200 on groceries a month, and this is if I'm buying like pretty much the essentials. But if I want to buy more things like snacks and stuff, it will most probably lead up like 250, I would say. So my rent actually costs around 140 per week, if I'm not mistaken. But I have to like go back on that one because I'm not really sure about it. But yeah, that's pretty much something that's what I can tell you. But again, I'm not sure where you are talking about specifically, so I really can't answer on that one as much. But yeah, hopefully that was good enough for you to have an idea pretty much.
Good answer to that, Sila. So I think for our friend Asif here, just a general rule of thumb is the further you are away from the city of London, the more cheaper rent will be, whether you're staying on campus or off campus. And usually you would also have to consider whether and what kind of facilities you're looking for in your accommodations as well, whether it is an ensuite room, or whether it's a shared room or shared bathroom, whether you're sharing the kitchen facilities, whether it's a studio. So in terms of rent, usually the more sophisticated and the more private it is, you would definitely the rent would also go up a little bit more, just so that you have a general idea of what you can expect. But like Asila said, if depending on where you live, it might be quite hard to have a definite answer for how much rent costs per week or month. But yeah, if you are concerned about it, do get into contact with us or your counselor, and you can tell them which city or university you plan to study or looking to study, and they should be able to give you a rough guess or an estimate about how much rent should cost in the UK, depending on where you live. Okay, we have another question. Is it easy to get Muslim items such as tudung, Quran, and etc.? Any thoughts on that?
So I'm not really sure about that because I pretty much bring my Quran from home, and then I also just bring my tudung that I have, my hijab from home. So I've never actually had to go out and shop for these items. But I do feel like if you engage with the Muslim community, there's definitely places that you can get this because obviously they also need these items as well. So I can't really answer specifically on this because I've never had to go and get it. But again, if you go and engage with maybe a senior that you're planning to go to the university at or the Muslim community, they would definitely have an answer for that.
Cool. Here's another question about public transport. So, how much does Manchester's public monthly pass actually cost? Do you know?
So if I'm being honest, I don't usually get the monthly pass because I don't usually go on trams as often because where I stay in Old Trafford, so it's pretty close to like grocery stores, and sometimes even if we go to like into town, we only go it for like not a lot. So I don't usually go for like the monthly passes, but if so I don't actually know a definite answer for this. I'm so sorry. But you can go on like the Metrolink website, which is the website that they use for the Metrolinks in Manchester, and they would have the answer for you. Again, I'm so sorry I can't give you a definite answer on this.
Thank you for giving the insight, Asila. I think, like you said, if you have any questions about the public transport system, you can also have a look at it online on the website, by searching on Google and so on and so forth. And I think that is the end of our Q&A session. So yes, so as we're about to go into our prize.